Funding its public schools fairly has been a New Mexico challenge for, well, forever. We've watched attempts to balance the money given to wealthy and less affluent districts, to big ones and to small ones. Now, part of the education reform this time around is a long-debated adjustment to the small school funding. At the rate of a 20% reduction per year, the state is eliminating extra money given to those small schools and charter schools, by the way, in larger districts. As I said, it's long debated. The debate is not over. Joining us at the table, add some insight and others, is this week's Line Opinion panel. Merritt Allen is here. She's the owner of Vox Optima Public Relations. The executive director of Prosperity Works and a new dad, Michael Barrio, is back with us as well. Line regular and public health consultant Michael Bird is at the table. And completing our group of opinion panelists is Giovanna Rossi. She's the president and owner of Collective Action Strategies. Welcome to you all. A big part of the issue is that charter schools in large districts have been benefiting from the law, even though they weren't around when it was written. And Merritt, fundamentally, is that fair?
I think it's very hard to say. I spent a term on the Governing Council of East Mountain High School, which is a charter school in the East Mountains. And it is part of Bernalillo County APS, which is a very large urban school district, but the East Mountains are not urban or large.
That's right.
And so, you know, there's also a small school. I also look at my hometown, Silver City, which almost seems to be trying to keep its population under 10,000 people just to keep these funds flowing in. So on both those sides, I feel like we've got some smaller rural communities who are stagnating growth to try and keep those funds going and misusing those funds. And then you have charter schools who just thought, well, this works.
That's right.
So
their positions, we might as well just ask, and if someone gives us the money, it's okay.
Right.
Exactly. Michael, you know, interestingly, there's a lot of blame being put out there right now. The previous gubernatorial administration, the Martinez administration, and Hannah Scandera are being blamed for letting this sort of slide a little bit. But now you get this fixed situation where these schools are going to lose 20% of their money for the next 5 years to bring it down to some parity with public schools. Again, I ask the same question about fairness. Is it fair? Who's it being unfair to? Are charter schools being unfairly treated here? Because they're just doing what they thought was okay.
Well, it would appear to me that a number, you know, it's always, when something goes wrong, everybody's very quick to blame someone else. But that's not going to help with this issue. I think everybody needs to step up and recognize that what I see is two contrary sort of mandates, and that are now rising to the surface. And so really what it requires is everybody sitting down and saying, okay, we've got a problem here, and what are we going to do to address it? What's it going to take to fix it,
right,
and make it right? Because it's not in the short term and in the long term, nobody's going to benefit unless we get it right.
That's right. That's right. Michael Barrio, here's the fix that happened in the legislature. The old definition of a small school, in finger quotes, was 200 for elementary and middle school and 400 for high school. Now, that only applies to school districts with fewer than 2,000 total students. You see the problem here? That's not going to work for Albuquerque. Obviously, we have more than 2,000 students. So if you're a small school inside an APS, you're out now. And so the problem for these people running these charter schools say they have to do one of two things, either grow or add more students. It's almost like a perverse incentive to grow. It's very interesting.
And sometimes growth isn't always tenable. Right. It's not always a viable thing. And I don't think that should be a central focus of the school anyway, is growth.
Growth, like a business, right? Yeah.
Right. I think the point is education. And there's been, I think this debate for me really kind of gets on my nerves because we've been having debates about how we address and fund education in the state for so long that this particular argument, this debate, seems like it really only serves to protract the argument and make, you know, are we making some decisions and you know, doing some moonshot education things here, or are we quibbling over something like, and I know it's a lot of money, but you know, one of the things that I looked up and that was concerning to me was the number of charter schools that actually receive funding from this particular thing. I think it's something like 46% charter schools.
I got you covered. Between 2009 and 2015,
46%
of all the increases in funding for public education went to charter schools, even though they serve only 7% of students.
7%.
That's called imbalance, right? That's
a
just
huge
not
imbalance.
right.
And so, from a personal and professional perspective, I have to wonder, let's think about how we're actually investing in our students and what kind of workforce and future we'd like to see.
Right, exactly right. One of the things, Giovanna, I have to say about charter schools and versus public, everyone thinks it's about favoritism and all this. But that number that Michael Barrow just brought up, the 46% for only 47% of the students being served, a lot of people have heartburn in the public school system about that. And they have been for a while. They've talked about this for a number of years. Are we back to a fair place? I'm back to that fairness issue. Once this 5 years goes by and the charter school thing gets back to a public education level, is everyone being treated fairly at that point?
So that's going to depend on, how the legislature proceeds with all of the funding formula. And I think that it's not a surprise, though, that this is happening, right? I mean, the Legislative Education Study Committee back in 2014 was meeting
That's right.
to talk about the need to change the size adjustment. So I think some charter schools have been preparing for this,
Yes.
and some haven't, and it's good. It's definitely going to be difficult for those that are seeing their budgets cut.
Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, I guess one of the things that, and I'm clearly, this is not my area of expertise, but one of the things that I think needs to happen is to go back and look at how did this all evolve in terms of public education, and in a sense, public education versus charter schools. Right. And there are some, I think, values and philosophical differences that have driven all of this. Because back in the day, at least when I remember and was in school, it was all public education, and there were private schools, but there were no charter schools. Right. So how did this all come about? Because I think it's those forces, that history, that context that we all could maybe get better.
Was it a
schooled in.
situation that we rushed to charter schools at one point a few years ago? There was a big land rush almost. It was interesting. Did we lose? Did I get off the ball here, Merritt Allen? Did something get not?
Well, and to your point, the point of charter schools was to inject some competition into the school system. And certainly in New Mexico, we could use that, given the performance of our public schools. And I think you saw two things come up. You had very serious schools like Cottonwood Classical, like East Mountain High, these really serious schools that have lotteries to get in because they are making it work, and they're the schools who are going to survive this.
That's right.
Then you've got these kind of fly-by-night schools and kind of educational theory of what's happening now schools, and that's kind of degraded the charter school brand. And then we're all talking about Albuquerque, and there are charter schools, of course, across the state. But APS is too big to care about charter schools, so they're not going to see a charter school as a competitor.
Gotcha.
Except for cash.
Right.
They're a competitor for money.
Let me ask you a question, though. With your experience at the charter school, one of the things that jumped out at me in the reporting on this is some of the charter school folks, the sweet spot is about 700 for students to be profitable, to make sure the doors are going to stay open. A lot of schools are not going to be able to manage an increase to 700 some odd students. They don't have the infrastructure for it. They don't have the buildings for it. Now they don't have the money for it. Teachers, you have to hire the whole thing. You see the problem here? There's something, forcing these people to grow just seems like a lit fuse for some of these folks. They're not going to make it across the finish line, it seems to me.
Well, and also, the reason so many parents like charter schools is that they're smaller.
Right.
And they feel that they have more access to the staff and that their child is getting more attention because they're one of 300 instead of one of 800.
That's right.
So I think that's a real challenge, and it does challenge the very nature of charter schools. I think APS and I think this administration's PED absolutely want to challenge the existence of charter schools and make it difficult.
Gene, one of the questions, what about diversity and equity?
Right.
How is that reflected in this process? Because my instinct would tell me that the students of color, students that are challenged, are the ones that are in the public school system and not in charter schools. Yep. So what about equity? What about fairness? What about diversity and the value in that? So I don't know if anyone's looking at
access.
that. Right.
How do you make APS care about that? Because they haven't for decades.
That's right.
Well,
interesting point. This is one of those ongoing topics I'm sure we're going to talk about again. Now,
charter
for
school-
now, though, Michael, we're going to leave it right there. After the break, we're one-on-one with Congresswoman Deb Haaland.
Charter school.